Imagine a radiant city, where the Soviet nuclear dream once shone bright. Pripyat, the night of April 25, 1986. Warm yellow lights. Children asleep, no one suspecting that just hours later, everything would vanish forever. A terrifying explosion at the Chernobyl power plant tore the sky apart, releasing radiation 400 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. A mysterious blue glow appeared, beautiful, yet deadly. What led to this disaster? Why was the truth buried in silence? Join us as we uncover the story of Chernobyl, where one peaceful night became the beginning of the end, and the costly lessons still echo to this day. Pripyat, the night before disaster. Nestled along the banks of the Pripyat River, just 110 kilometers north of Kyiv and only 16 kilometers from the Belarusian border, stood a symbol of the Soviet Union's atomic ambition, the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant. Officially named the Lenin Nuclear Power Station, its construction began in 1970 as part of a bold national plan to harness nuclear energy. That same year, the city of Pripyat was founded, built from the ground up to house the plant's engineers, workers, and their families. It was a modern, vibrant community, a shining example of Soviet progress. By the mid-1980s, 4 RBMK-1000 reactors were in operation, providing about 10% of Ukraine's electricity. The future looked bright, and Pripyat was thriving. April 25, 1986. The city glowed in warm yellow lights. Children slept peacefully. Families watched late-night television in their tidy apartments. It was an ordinary spring evening, one that would become the last in the city's short history. No one suspected that just a few hours later, everything would vanish. The fateful experiment. At Reactor No. 4 of the Chernobyl power plant, an experiment was underway, testing whether turbines could operate during a power outage. A routine technical procedure, on paper, but the RBMK-1000 reactor had deadly design flaws, suboptimal safety systems, inefficient control rods, and operational procedures taken lightly. That night, the reactor was operating at low power, an unstable state. Under pressure from superiors, engineers ignored warning signs. Automatic safety systems were disabled. Too many control rods were withdrawn, fueling a dangerous chain reaction. At exactly 1 hour 23 minutes and 4 seconds a.m. on April 26, 1986, the test began. Just 40 seconds later, at 1 hour 23 minutes and 44 seconds, Reactor No. 4 exploded, marking one of the worst disasters in human history. The explosion, a deadly light. The blast ripped through the reactor roof, launching a pillar of fire into the sky. The core, filled with uranium and graphite, was exposed. The radiation released equaled 400 times the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Radioactive debris rained down on fields, forests, and the nearby city of Pripyat. Then came something strange. A blue Cherenkov glow shimmered from the core, surreal, mesmerizing, but carrying death. On-site workers felt unbearable heat. Many were burned instantly. Everything was shaking, like the world was collapsing. One survivor recalled, but the world did not collapse. Only Chernobyl and Pripyat were erased from the map of life. The explosion at Reactor No. 4 released over 8 tons of radioactive material, with an intensity estimated to be 400 times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. More than 60,000 square kilometers of land were contaminated, stretching across Ukraine, Belarus, and parts of Russia. A radioactive cloud swept silently across Europe, reaching as far as Scandinavia. What began as a test had turned into one of the most devastating nuclear disasters in human history. The first minutes after the blast. Within 5 minutes of the explosion, the first firefighting units arrived. They had no radiation protection, no warning of the invisible danger. I tasted burning metal in my mouth, one firefighter recounted before dying of acute radiation sickness. They fought the flames unaware that each second they breathed brought them closer to death. In Pripyat, just 3 kilometers away, people awoke to the sound of the explosion. Many stood on balconies, mesmerized by the strange glow on the horizon. Children and adults alike were unknowingly bathed in radiation. In the control room, surviving engineers panicked. They couldn't measure the true radiation levels, and couldn't believe the reactor had been completely destroyed. April 26th morning, a deadly silence. On the morning of April 26th, Pripyat remained calm. Children went to school. Workers reported to their shifts. Mothers pushed strollers in the park. No announcements, no warnings. The Soviet government, in an effort to hide the disaster, remained silent. Some citizens noticed strange symptoms, a metallic taste, burning skin, headaches, but no one connected the dots to radiation. Pripyat appeared peaceful, but death had already crept into every breath. Evacuation and aftermath. On the afternoon of April 27, nearly 36 hours after the explosion, the evacuation order finally came. Hundreds of buses arrived to transport over 40,000 residents. Bring only essentials. You'll return in a few days, the loudspeakers said, but it was a promise never fulfilled. People packed in haste, leaving behind pets, toys, unfinished meals. Pripyat became a ghost town in mere hours. On the buses, children began to vomit. Some developed fevers. Adults felt dizzy. Early signs of radiation sickness. Yet no one was told just how dangerous it truly was. At Chernobyl, the first liquidators began their work, trying to stop the catastrophe from spreading. Most lacked proper protection. Hundreds died in the weeks that followed. In total, nearly 350,000 people were evacuated from the 30-kilometer exclusion zone over several years. An area of over 2,000 square kilometers remains abandoned to this day, a ghost land frozen in time. To contain the catastrophe, the Soviet government deployed around 600,000 liquidators, firefighters, soldiers, engineers, and volunteers, who risked their lives battling fires, removing radioactive debris, and constructing a massive concrete sarcophagus to encase the destroyed reactor. The true human cost remains disputed. Official numbers list just over 30 immediate deaths, but independent studies estimate the long-term death toll could be between 4,000 and 100,000. Due to cancers and radiation-induced illnesses, Chernobyl was not just a disaster of science, but a tragedy of silence, secrecy, and sacrifice. Chernobyl, a lesson in silence. Chernobyl was more than an explosion. It was a rupture in the wall of secrecy surrounding an empire. Radiation from Chernobyl reached as far as Scandinavia, contaminating soil and water in dozens of countries. The disaster knew no borders. Pripyat is now a frozen city, where time has stopped. Crumbling buildings, rusted cars, abandoned toys. They tell the story of a dream turned nightmare. But from the ruins, humanity learned something about accountability, transparency, and the terrible cost of silence. Sometimes, the end doesn't come with a bang, but with silence that lasts too long. Chernobyl is a haunting reminder of technology's fragility, and the bravery of those who brought light from the darkness. We still don't know how many lives were lost to the invisible enemy. What we do know is that the silence killed more than the explosion ever could. If this story moved you, please share this video so the world knows what happened and never repeats it again. Let us know your thoughts about this place and the horrors it endured. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.